Don't have any expectation of any particular result. Just expect life to take place. Convert any expectation to simply expect to be alive. Don't try to meditate. Don't try to do anything. This zero intentional sitting is truly the highest form of meditation. The reason for that is because it's very, very hard to actually sit without any intention. Think about how many people on earth would be capable of sitting with themselves in silence, without moving, without any intention or expectation, without doing anything to distract themselves, or without doing anything to gain some kind of result, whether that's peace, whether that's a meditative state of mind. This is why the most simple thing is typically the hardest thing to do. And the challenge is implicit in the language. The hardest thing to do is nothing. To truly do nothing. Sitting down to meditate is still doing something. what is it that we'd be doing in that context? We'd be a separate self sitting on a chair trying to meditate. It's a very subtle action that the separate self undertakes in order to try and remove itself. The separate self says, I know happiness is on the other side of meditation, so I will embark on this activity called meditation in order to sit down, find the meditative state, and then I will be divested of my resistance. And the problem with that is that that which tries to remove itself perpetuates itself. The separate self lives and thrives and survives in very intelligent ways. The deeper we go, the more intelligent the separate self becomes, so to speak. It doesn't really have its intelligence. It's we that create and govern that intelligence. So we do it to ourselves. But just for the sake of personifying it, for understanding, the separate self becomes very intelligent. So, to the same degree that in the past we may have sought the relationship, sought material success, sought the bottle, sought the game, sought whatever it might have been to try and remove our suffering, to change ourselves, to better ourselves, to improve our state of mind. So too does the separate self put on a very sophisticated jacket, sits down, embarks on a spiritual practice in order to try and remove itself. The removing action of itself is the separate self. It has no other existence other than in those moments. This is why the highest form of meditation is to simply be without any intention, expectation, or desire to get anything from that experience. Because in order to truly do so, we must be meditation itself. We cannot practice our way to the source of meditation. If meditation was an island, sailing to the island is not meditation. Parking the boat close to the island is not meditation. Parking the boat on the island is not meditation. Stepping off the boat and arriving on the island is meditation. Everything that we can do as a practice, as a spiritual method, is akin to arriving to the island on the boat without ever stepping off the boat. We cannot arrive at meditation if we do not leave the boat. We cannot arrive at meditation if we do not leave all our practices behind. If we do not leave all our expectations behind. If we do not leave all our desire to change our experience behind. In order to leave the boat, we must see clearly the island. Because if we had not seen the island, why would we get off the boat? The island is simply our being. It is the sense of being alive. This sense of unobjective, zero-dimensional being that which we refer to when we say the word I. When we say I, we refer to ourselves. I points to an experience. It points to the direct experience of ourself. It points to the direct experience of being. And when we are in that knowing, when that process is understood, that's the raw experience of being alive. Being, knowing itself as it is, without any thought, image, sensation, or perception qualifying it. Knowing it in its pure nature. If you are following what I'm sharing, you may have even forgotten that you had any expectation or any desire or any need to change experience. You're just experiencing being alive. Tell me, what would you need in order to practice being alive? Notice that anything you try to do would be in the wrong direction. Anything we do is a step away from this raw sense of being. Be in this raw sense of being, which you cannot not be in, and recognize that you have left the boat. Leave everything else behind. You need nothing on this island. You don't need your thoughts. You don't need your feelings. You don't need your sights, your sensations, your perceptions, your ideas. You need nothing on this island. This is the island of being. This is the island of peace. This is the island of meditation. Even if just for this moment, surrender everything to this sense of being. It's safe. It's safe to let go in this being. Yes. It catches you You catch yourself. You surrender yourself to yourself, and you're caught by yourself. Welcome everything. Notice that this sense of being is impartial, impersonal, lovingly indifferent to anything that takes place. Like a mother who fully, unconditionally loves her child. She lets her be who she is, lovingly indifferent to who she becomes, what she wants to do, who she wants to be. She will love any possibility. That's lovingly indifferent. We are that loving indifference to our experience. All embracive, all accepting, all welcoming, and most importantly, all forgiving. Giving all experience the freedom to take place as it is. The separate self cannot live in this place. When you arrive at the island, you pass through the eye of the needle. There's nothing left of the separate self on this island. It cannot arrive there. Notice that this nature of being is what you fundamentally are. You were never not this. You just took a boat, put on a clothing of the separate self, and sailed over to Separation Island. The beauty of this is that collapsing that metaphor, we never really left the island. We never leave the island. We can never leave the island. We are the island of meditation. Nothing can come out of us, nothing can come away from us. We are always seated in the placeless place of being. This is the natural baseline condition. We're not a separate self that walks around and then has 40 minutes of meditation every other day. We are pure awareness, pure meditation that has intermittent moments of the separate self throughout the day. Don't leave this island. You couldn't if you tried. You don't have to go back on the boat at this point. Realize this as your baseline. You are meditation itself that temporarily limits itself with the identity of a separate self. You're not a separate self that temporarily identifies with meditation. Your meditation temporarily identifying with a separate self. Let your life from this moment be the meditation. Don't leave this meditation. This meditation never started. We never started a meditation. I never said close your eyes and meditate. Sure, I said try not to meditate. So this meditation cannot end. It doesn't have to end. Simply come back. If you find yourself moving away from meditation, just come back. Realize you just went on a little walk. You just sailed off to Separation Island temporarily. Just be with your being. Come back to being alive. This is what it means to be alive. Doesn't mean that we have a body, our heart's beating. Simply means this: being, to exist, and to know of that existence, independent of limitation. Meditation is the nature of being alive. It takes an effort for it to be any different. takes an effort for it to be any different. When you're ready, feel free to come back to the Zoom. Does anyone have any questions or anything that they would like to share based on the meditation?
To supplement what you've expressed in the meditation by saying that understanding that happiness is already there, already present in pure awareness is what kind of softens that seeking, that trying to be something else. And so in that way, it becomes easier to kind of let go. Say let go, nobody lets go. Just to hold in awareness the actions of the false self and just let that be.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Seeing the qualities of awareness, experiencing that. If we even get a glimpse of that possibility, it's enough to stop or put an end to the seeking of happiness outside of ourselves. Yeah. Is everyone on board with this style of approach? Is everyone understanding arriving at the bridge, arriving at the island?
Yes, I like this a lot because it really like because I've kind of been struggling with, like being like the whole day and stuff like that. Like I'd have moments where I'm like, I'm in tune with quotation marks. But like when you said like we didn't even start this meditation. This we didn't start it, and I kind of added it doesn't have to end.
Mhm.
So like can help.
Exactly.
I might forget it later, but it's you know how you
You can't
always
forget being alive. It's pretty hard to forget that.
like not forget it, but like be ignorant to it, you
That's
know?
okay. That's okay. I remember I was walking down the street and I would like walk to my granddad's house and I would think to myself, well, I'm gonna try and be in my being the whole walk. And then I'd walk and then I'd get to his house. It's like, fuck, I wasn't being in my being the whole time. Relax, don't worry about it. That was the problem. The problem was I was trying. The way to see it is like imagine that your imagine that there's actually and I say this provisionally, imagine that there's actually nothing to do to improve this process in that way. So instead of it being something that you try to force yourself to do, it's something that you serendipitously experience, and you you welcome that experience. You don't say, I'm going to try and do this, or I'm going to try and remember my being all day. You just you be open to that serendipitously happening throughout the day. And you think of the times where you, for instance, in your language, move into ignorance. You think of it as like, imagine you're always, you're on the leash. You're on the leash. Your separate self is on the leash of God. And you know that you're not going to go very far. It's one of those leashes that have the ones that stretch, right? You're not going to go very far. And you'll always come back. If you're about to walk off onto the main road, you're going to be tugged back towards it, right? That might be more of an aggressive analogy, but you see what I'm trying to say. You're safe. You're safe to be in ignorance. You see?
Yeah.
You're safe to slip away. You're safe. You're safe. It's safe to do so. You're in the orbit of God. You see? You're either God, or you're either being, or you're in the orbit of being. Close. The gravity is strong. You see? And knowing this takes away that desire, or that strong desire, like in my case, um, to try to make an effort. And there is an effort to be made. That's not untrue, but the effort is effortless, and the effort is a sign of grace. You see? But there'll be a transition between effort and non-effort. The experience of effortless effort, and the experience of no effort, not even worrying about it. You see? Is that making sense? Your mic's muted.
Oh, yes.
Cool. Ralph, I think that you were going to share something.
Yes, I think about the difference between seeking and resisting.
Mm-hmm.
And for example, if something happens, or I'm aware of something that I don't want to be like it, it's resisting.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not. I'm not seeking something. I don't seek happiness in this. It's just I don't want to have it that way. But the only way out is to see that I'm resisting, and stop resisting. Or what do you say there?
I would say to see your true nature is already all accepting, all forgiving. It's like, imagine that you were a light, but you kept experiencing darkness. In order to see, if you wanted, if you would imagine you were darkness who wanted to be light, in order to see that you are, in order to be light, you would just recognize that you are already light. You see, you don't try to stop suffering. You do it through recognition. You make a recognition through exploring your experience. And that recognition, as a byproduct, puts an end to suffering. Or puts an end to resistance.
Mm. So it's coming back to this awareness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Coming back to it, getting accustomed to it. See you too, Manny. Getting accustomed to it. Going deeper and deeper into it, exploring it, but not to remove suffering. We need to see suffering as not the problem.
Mm.
So seeking the truth of our experience is going to bring about the recognition, and that comes through genuine interest. Genuine interest, curiosity, wanting to know the truth of your suffering. What is it made of? Why does it arise? There comes a time where you have to just give up. You have to give up. Like really just like give up, because there's suffering isn't actually going to kill you, you see? Suffering's not doing anything to you. Suffering is simply a byproduct of ignorance. So when we see that, it makes sense to say, well, suffering's the byproduct of ignorance. What am I experiencing about my experience that isn't true? We naturally have it in us to not want to live in a lie. We all have this natural desire to want to see the truth if we think that what we're experiencing isn't true. You see?
Is it ignorance about my true self?
Yeah, ignorance about the self that you are experiencing.
Mm.
Imagine you had a pain. Imagine you had a pain in your, or let's just say that you had a pain in your foot and you broke your toe. Or a better example, let's just say that you had some type of thorn in your leg. The body will cause physical pain in order for you to address it, you see,
Yeah.
because something's not right.
Yeah.
Now,
No.
staring and kind of knowing the pain is there without going to it is not going to solve the pain, you see.
Mm-hmm.
For as long as there is something sacrificing the integrity of the leg, there will be pain. So likewise, for as long as there is something sacrificing the integrity of your mind, there will be suffering. So we have to be interested in the experience. So we can't say, for a lag example, we can't be like, oh, well, the pain is there. And the pain is so bad. And we get lost in the pain. And then we just know the pain is there. We just don't do anything. We have to be interested in solving the problem. Do you see what I mean? Like, it's a genuine interest is the key here. You have to be interested. Where's this pain coming from? Let me see. Because you go into practical mode almost. You see? Where is this pain coming from? There's blood coming from somewhere. Let me pull up my leg. You pull up your trouser leg. Oh, look, there's a thing here. You have to be indifferent to the pain if you want to solve the problem. You see? Like it's the same with the mind. You have to be indifferent to the suffering. You have to actually see and be interested in the source of that for you to solve it. And in that interest, in that moment of curiosity, you naturally lose the desire to want to end your suffering. You see?
So curiosity about what makes me suffer.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Curiosity as to why it's there, where it comes from.
Mm-hmm.
If we weren't supposed to address it, it wouldn't be uncomfortable. If we weren't supposed to be interested in it, it wouldn't be experienced as uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
It would just be like any other nice, pleasant thing that never needs to be addressed. You see?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a signal that
Yeah.
something is not yet. Yes.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And what I've noticed heavily in you is that desire to remove the suffering. You're spending too much time trying to remove the suffering. You cannot remove the suffering with the desire to remove it. It just creates more suffering, right? So that would be the key. Start converting your interest. Because for as long as you're interested in removing your suffering, the paradox is you're not actually interested in removing it. We just dwell in it, see? That's where the ego lives. It lives in that addiction. So this is the time to go from sufferer to explorer. Be like Indiana Jones. Maybe throw on a cap. Be playful with it. You see? It doesn't have to be this doom and gloom thing. It's an adventure. It is an adventure filled with curiosity and interest. Why not? Right?
Yeah.
Why not? We've tried the approach of suffering. We've tried the approach of removing suffering. We've tried every other approach we can think of. Why not try the one thing you've yet to try? Stop trying to get rid of it.
Not trying to get rid of it, but investigating it.
Yeah. Investigating. Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah. And if you ever catch yourself, just visualize, if this was a real investigation with the police, you're a detective, you're the detective, the suffering is the crime, and you've got the commissioner or whoever the boss would be, and your job is to be completely impartial as the detective. You don't want to accuse anyone. You want facts. And if you find yourself going, oh, I bet it's this guy, you have a personal vendetta to accuse someone, just notice that. Commissioner will say, no, we want the facts. I know you think it's this person. I know you have a vendetta for this guy. I know you don't like him. And it would be great if it was him. But let's stick to the facts of our experience. Let's stick to the facts and the proof and the evidence.
Yeah.
Cool.